If you're going to put on a topic, I'll put on.
Oh, yeah, no, keep doing your thing.
There was a clip. I know where there was a clip.
All right, should we go? All right, you want to say anything?
Yeah, I'll say Shabbat Shalom, and I'm going to invite. I think so. It's a nice crowd. Shabbat Shalom. It is so nice to be here with such a full crowd. That I didn't mean that sarcastically. This is many, many people here
Apparently took it sarcastic.
I know, you know. Yeah, no, there are a lot of people here in person, and I'm pleased to see all of you. For those who don't know me, I'm Toby Manewith, a rabbi, but not the rabbi of this congregation. But Becky said before that we're the B team. I prefer to see ourselves as the B side, because every so often the B side becomes like a really big hit, you know, without people knowing about it. Anyway, Shabbat Shalom. We are so glad that you're here. We're going to begin with Or Zarua.
Or Zarua, Lat Tzadik, Uyishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zarua, Lat Tzadik, Uyishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zarua, Lat Tzadik, Uyishrei Lev Simcha. Uyishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zarua, Lat Tzadik, Uyishrei Lev Simcha. Uyishrei Lev Simcha. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Or Zarua, Lat Tzadik, Uyishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zarua, Lat Tzadik, Uyishrei Lev Simcha.
To help us with candle lighting this evening, I call forward Sharon Ephraim, who I've lost in the crowd. Where is she? Oh, there you are.
Ephraim.
I said it wrong. Oh, I said it. Dude, I said it wrong. Oh, there you go. God. Just light.
No,
You light first.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
It's okay. We can do it straight afterwards.
Shirul Adonai kol haaretz, Shirul likrat kala, B'nei Penei Shabbat nikavela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, B'nei Penei Shabbat nikavela. La 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 la, lecha dodi, likrat kala, B'nei Penei Shabbat nikavela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, B'nei Penei Shabbat nikavela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad, Hishmi'anu el ha'miyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'liti la 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 la, Lecha dodi, likrat kala, B'nei Penei Shabbat nikavela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, B'nei Penei Shabbat nikavela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki mekor ha'beracha, Mirosh mikedem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila, la 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 la, Lecha dodi, likrat kala, B'nei Penei Shabbat nikavela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, B'nei Penei Shabbat nikavela. Itoreri, ki va'orech u'mi'uri, uri shir daberi, kevod Adonai alayich migla la 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 la, Lecha dodi, likrat kala, B'nei Penei Shabbat nikavela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, B'nei Penei Shabbat nikavela. Mo'i v'shalom ateret bala, Gam besimcha u'besola, Toch emunei am segula, Mo'i chala, la 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 la, Lecha dodi, likrat kala, B'nei Penei Shabbat nikavela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, B'nei Penei Shabbat nikavela. La 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 la, Lecha dodi, likrat kala, B'nei Penei Shabbat nikavela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, B'nei Penei Shabbat nikavela.
Now that we've taken a minute to do the introductory part of the service, we're going to stop for just a minute to introduce ourselves to one another. I know there's a few new faces around our sanctuary this week, and even if there's not, if there's someone you haven't met yet, just take a minute, say Shabbat Shalom. Let's start this Shabbat off nicely together. Friends, I see that some of you are standing, so I'm going to ask the rest of you to stand, and we're going to continue our service. But I promise that there'll be time to talk more after services. We're going to continue with the Baruch Hu.
Lai, 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 la, lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, la, lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Liberation comes when people gather by the tens and by the thousands, demanding that the despot who's held the reins step down. And in between the slogans, they dish out lentils cooked over open flame, and homes open up so the protesters can shower. And members of one faith link hands to protect the members of another faith at prayer. Liberation comes at a cost. Not only the horses and chariots swept away, but innocents gunned down by their own army, panicked children lost in the roiling crowds, activists imprisoned for speaking freely, and when the world stops watching, they may be beaten or worse. It's upon us at least to pay attention on mobile phones and computer screens as real people rise up to say, we have the right to congregate and speak. We will not be silenced. We are not afraid.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele, nora tehilot osefele, malechutecha ra'uvanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe, zelianu ve'ameru, Adonai imloch, Adonai imloch, le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar ki Adonai et Yaakov, u'ge'alo mi'ad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael. Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, V'Zocher Hashtei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol atah Rav LaHoshia, Mashiv HaRuach uMorid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Nichamocha Mal Givurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit Umachayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'nemanat al hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yihallelu Selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
I feel like the prayer for the redemption of captives is palpable this week. We can feel it as we watch those who have been in captivity for a year and a half come home. I'm sure that Rabbi London will have stories to tell of what it's been like to be in Israel this week, yesterday and tomorrow, when captives are set to be released tomorrow. The three people who are coming home are Keith Siegel, Ofer Calderon, and Yarden Bibas. We know that, although we don't know their condition and if they're alive or not, we know that the rest of the Bibas family remains in captivity. And so with this prayer, we pray that they all come home quickly and whole. Our God, the one who raised Joseph up from the pit, be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. Send complete rescue and full redemption to all those held captive by the enemy. Strengthen their spirit and bring them our prayers that they may be protected from all harm. Implant understanding in the heart of the enemy that they may return the captives in wholeness of body and spirit. Grant wisdom to the Israeli Defense Forces that they may secure the freedom for the captives without loss of life. Grant strength of spirit and courage of heart to all the sons and daughters of Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar to release the bonds of captivity and allow us all to live in freedom. They shall call upon me, and I will answer them. I will be with them in distress. I will rescue them and honor them. We continue now with a Mishaberach, a prayer of healing for mind, body, and spirit. The names of loved ones of the congregation are up in front of you. If there's another name that you'd like to add, please do so as I pass my hand over the congregation. All right, so I was thinking as Rebecca and Danielle were praying beside me this evening that it's traditional during this time of year between Sukkot and Pesach to pray for rain. So I think that, at least right now, we have some evidence that our prayers are being answered, which is great, which is a great thing. This week we read Parshat Bo, and in Parshat Bo, among the things that happen is we see the last three plagues. The last three plagues: locusts, darkness, and death of the firstborn. So tonight, I want to talk about darkness. We know that the Israelites, during the darkness, we know that the Israelites were able to see, and that the Egyptians weren't able to see, that they were enveloped in such darkness that they couldn't see if there was someone next to them. And I was flipping through the pages because I want to read to you exactly how the text reads. So the text says, no, that's not it. Okay, so the text says, Moses held out his arm towards the sky, and thick darkness descended upon all of the land of Egypt for 3 days. Here's how the darkness is described. People could not see one another, and for 3 days, no one could move about. Right? It was so dark that they couldn't see each other, and no one moved. So, think about that. It's dark, you can't see anyone, and no one can move from their place. I think about it because there are days when that's exactly how I feel, right? There is a lot of darkness in the world right now, and sometimes it's particularly overwhelming, and I can see exactly how the Egyptians would have felt the way that they do. And Rabbi Harold Kushner has a really sensible explanation for how they might have felt. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about the explanation that people give for some of the plagues, right? Some people say that the plagues were all sort of magical phenomena, but there are some people who say, well, there's really an explanation for most of them. So there's an idea that at certain times of year, and this does happen, I've been in Israel when it happens, and in the Middle East, that this algae comes in the water and turns the water red, and the algae is so overwhelming that the water isn't red, but it looks like it's red. So there's the first plague, blood. And if the water is so filled with algae, what happens? The frogs can't live in the water, so the frogs come out, right? The next plague is lice, but we know frogs can't give us lice, but we also know that sometimes there are mistranslations from Hebrew to English, and that what we see as leprosy, what we've translated as leprosy, isn't really leprosy. And there are actually a few skin diseases that you can get from frogs. One of them, the most likely one, which makes your skin itchy, is I'm going to get it, chytridromycosis. I know there's some medical professionals, they'll help me a little bit later, right? So we have a reason for the blood, we have a reason for the frogs, we have a reason for itchy skin, and of course, where there's frogs and open wounds, then there's flies, and when there's flies, then there's cattle disease, and on, right? So there are many of the things in the 10 plagues that make sense. Rabbi Kushner says that the reason that the Egyptians were stuck in their chairs, and I think Rabbi Kushner's idea is more sensical, is that they were just terribly overwhelmed and depressed, right? They couldn't move. All they felt was darkness. Their life was filled with blood and frogs and lice and flies. Their cattle were dying. They had boils. They felt terrible, right? It felt like impending doom, right? So Kushner says, yeah, I would have been laid flat if that happened to me too. And we know scientifically that even if one person in the house felt terrible, felt overwhelmed, felt depressed, that moods are actually contagious, right? There's a study now, my friend's in 7th grade, it's a little bit gross, but it's interesting, right? So there was this study about how moods are contagious, and researchers did a study where they put sweat pads on 2 different kinds of people, people who were jumping out of planes and people who were running on a treadmill, right? And then, here's the yucky part, they gave them to people to smell, right? They gave them to research participants to smell, right? The research participants, when they smelled the sweat pads of the people who had been skydiving, the little electrodes in their heads, attached to their heads, showed a raised amount of fear. The fear was contagious, right? And similar researchers did another study about the way that people answer the phone, right? If someone answers the phone and says, hello, or if someone answers the phone and says, hello, the person on the other end of the phone's mood changes, right? So here we are, one person feels completely overwhelmed, and now all of Egyptian society is sharing these same feelings. How do we come out of darkness? Well, we could, wait the 3 days until the darkness is lifted. But what Kushner suggests, how do we come out of darkness? Human connection, right? Human connection can bring us into darkness. We feel each other's fear. Human connection can bring us out of darkness. We feel each other's joy. And what's interesting is that Judaism has a whole thing about the difference between light and darkness. You might know this piece, that rabbis were trying to figure out when it was light out. Why did they need to know when it was light out? Because they needed to know when it was okay to start praying in the morning. So it used to be that our talit fringes had a piece of blue in them, a piece of blue thread, and it was light enough out if you could tell the difference between the blue thread and the rest of the threads, right? If you didn't have a talit nearby, you could tell the difference between your tame donkey, between the donkey that lived with you among your livestock, and a wild donkey. You could also tell the difference, if it was light enough, to tell the difference between someone who was your friend and someone who was a stranger, right? And so our friends, one of the ways that the Talmud suggests we figure out light and find light is by seeing a friend. Simon Sinek, who is a fantastic public speaker, has this theory about 8 minutes. He says that 8 minutes with a friend is proven to lighten your mood, that all you need is 8 minutes with a friend, just to talk, right? And he tells this story about a friend of his who texted him some benign text. They were talking a week after she sent him the text, and she said, wait, hey, where were you? He said, I really needed to talk to someone, and where were you? He said, I don't know, I was consumed with work, I had things to do, and you sent me a text that said, what are you up to? You busy? Right? And he was busy, so he didn't answer. She said, I really needed you to answer. And he said, well, maybe you could have said it more clearly. But maybe she couldn't have said it more clearly in the moment. Maybe she was engulfed in the kind of darkness that keeps you pinned to your seat. So next week, we will come to the edge of the sea. But I feel like even if we metaphorically come to the edge of the sea in the Torah, that we're going to be spending a lot of time in darkness over the next weeks and months. So if you get a random text that says, "Are you busy?" not only should you answer, but you should say, "Hello, Shabbat Shalom." We rise for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river, with understanding, loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the Son of God over all humanity, cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas. And light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
You can be seated. We call to mind those people from our congregation who have died in the last 30 days. Herbert Sorrell Soltman, partner of Hope, father of Lauren and Deborah. Michael Heifetz Golden, Michal Heifetz Golden, wife of Craig, mother of Sarah, Teddy, and Eli. Melissa Lee Myers, daughter of Miriam and the late Norman Myers, sister of Jason. Joanne Ray Dardick, wife of Nathan, mother of Samuel, Frederick, Tracy and Justin. Dr. Morton Schreiber, cousin of Miriam Spivak and Michael. Nate Shapiro, husband of Randy, father of Steve, Danny, and Leslie. And those who've died at the season in years past. Maurice Chapman, Israel Cohn, Tilly Danoff, Shirley Denlow, Samuel Diamond, Gail Ephraim, Ellen Freeman, Lillian Freeman, Donald Gale, Bonnie Gerstel, James Allen Guthrie, Ron Isroff, Trudy Jacobs, Samuel Cantor, William Cantor, Leon Keir, Adele Kersner, Beatrice Laws, Inez Levy-Marshall, Larry Lipsky, Beverly McKay, Janice Miller Goldsmith, Sidney Mogul, Anthony Nucciero, Patrick Padala, Esther Perlovsky, Harold Rappaport, Ann Ray, Sharon Rockland, Edna Rosen, Gerald Rosenberg, Ruby Roth, Harry Salter, Morris Schachtman, Joseph Schachtman, David Siegel, Timet Smirin, Daniel Snyder, Meyer Spitolnik, Gerald Strum, Nathan Teller, Ruth Tickner, Dorothy Vahone, Frank Waxman, Mel Wallace, Leo Waxman, Lenny Weil, Rose Weiss Lamargo, Charles Weitzman, and Pearl Zeitz. If there's anyone in the congregation who has a name they'd like to share, please do so as I pass my hand across the congregation. Please rise. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabba, v'alma divrach v'yurteh v'yamlich machte. Chon v'yomechon v'chayed chol beit Yisrael, b'galav v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudusha brichu. Le'elam min kol brechata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechamata, damiram be'alma ve'emru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'emru amen. Oseh shalom b'marmav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'emru amen.
Say shalom b'rama, say shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'yimeru.
Mr. President, do you have something to share? You don't have to. Sometimes you do. So please do. Please come help us with come help us with Chala and Kiddush.
Kiddush first.
Please come help us with Chala and Kiddush. All right, Kiddush first. Here we go.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kadsho be'ahavat uvratzon hingilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehila
Well, it's not about an A team or a B team, but I will tell you, it's a blessing to have these group of worship leaders and clergy up here helping us celebrate Shabbat. And I'll try a new thing. Shabbat Shalom. Yep, I'm working on that. So please join us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzei lechem min